The opening round at Sebring may have been bright and sunny, but here on the West Coast, Sonoma has been testing the drivers with variable weather all weekend long. As such, qualifying should be interesting this morning as we get ready for the Porsche Endurance Challenge North America. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Joey, Sonoma's put a bit of a damper, or should I say dampness, on things.
Yes, you're right. It has been a very wet weekend out here in Northern California, and as you can see from the pictures on the screen, it is still very, very wet on the racetrack. We do have some sunshine poking through the clouds right now, but trust me, it is not going to get dry anytime close to when this qualifying session ends. So everybody out on rain tires making the most of it.
Yeah, and on top of it, it was very, very dark a little bit earlier, and we are seeing some darkness all around us, and that's not some song lyrics I'm quoting. It is just clouds everywhere you look, so we're certainly in the midst of the drivers just getting maybe that one chance, Joey, to get what could be their best lap. If it does start to rain, that'll change the timing.
And very similar to what the drivers had yesterday and call it the Sprint Challenge North America qualifying sessions, I think it's going to be variable, right? Right now, it is very, very wet on the racetrack. We just had a huge downpour, a huge shower come through about maybe 10 minutes ago. However, with the cars running out there on the racetrack, it will continue to get drier and drier as long as they're racing on the same line.
If they can race on the same line, because we've been watching Greg Checky's onboard, and even on a straight, his wheel has been scything back and forth, trying to keep that thing together. That is how much moisture is on the track right now.
And it's pretty neat as we ride on board here. We can actually see those traction control and ABS lights depending on where they are on the racetrack and the grip level. And I mean, even just going over that slight overcrest in fourth gear, traction control was definitely still kicking in there. So the drivers have their hands full, but like I said, no rain coming down right now, so it should be getting faster every lap.
Theoretically, as we check out with Greg Herback, I think we've only got one time on the board so far, Bill Pelichewski, so we don't really have anything representative quite yet. Drowan comes through, and he's 5 thousandths off of the pole time currently. I was not expecting times to be anywhere that close today.
Yeah, and Greg Checky just barely sneaks it in as well, a 207.6. That's about a second faster than Pelichewski out there. I was really impressed with the car control that we're riding on board with here from Dan Drowan yesterday. He is not afraid to throw this thing sideways, be more aggressive on those steering and throttle inputs. Driver very comfortable in the rain, it seems.
Yeah, you're right. It was kind of a revelation late in the race yesterday where he suddenly came alive, and maybe that'll come to his advantage because we are expecting, we're hearing predictions of rain for the endurance race itself this afternoon. So this should hopefully be at least somewhat representative, these wet conditions in qualifying, to who is quick. Look at the rooster tail coming off of that 98.
Ooh, and even a little bit of a wiggle there on the drag strip. Now, that's a varying section in terms of the asphalt that's laid down. We got this drag strip that runs straight through the middle of our racetrack facility here at Sonoma Raceway, and we do utilize part of it coming out of the carousel, and then they kind of have to dip left on the access road to go towards the brake zone of turn number 7. So not only are painted curbs pretty slippery in the rain, but also those asphalt changes.
Now, even though we're watching Dan Drowan, he's not showing that he's on a terribly quick lap right now. Greg Checky, however, went purple in the first sector. Didn't repeat that in the second sector, it looks like. So while he was a second faster, it's kind of to be expected if he's had such an advantage in the first lap, that he's got maybe a little bit more sense of where there's some grip today.
I'm in 100% agreement. I mean, I just watched Drowan go through turn number 9 visually out of the commentary box, and then Greg Checky do the same exact thing not even 10 seconds later, and you could see how much more speed Greg Checky in that white and blue 72 was carrying compared to Drowan.
So we wait to see what each of them are able to do, as I think Drowan is just coming across to finish now, and yeah, as expected, he did not improve with no personal best sectors that time by. I don't think Checky did as well. No, he did not improve on that last lap. So first sector was pretty good for the 72, who we now follow around the track. And let's see what he can do on this next time around. Can he repeat that purple first sector? Is that maybe where he's just strong?
It certainly could be. We'll find out because he just was able to start a new lap as we got our eyes here on the 49. This is Greg Herbeck, currently sitting fourth in that Pro-Am class. Now, Greg has been a busy boy this weekend, not only competing in the USA West, but also in the Sprint Challenge North America and here in the Endurance Challenge.
That's a good point. So he's had a lot of track time out there. He should hopefully have the experience to help him out as he comes around. Right now he is, as you mentioned, sitting fourth in that Pro-Am class, but he's on 2 personal bests, comes across, and he improves up to 5th overall, but he stays in 4th within his class. We should point out that the AMs are being led by Todd Rutura, who also showed himself well yesterday.
He did a fantastic job, and correct me if I'm wrong, but got the first win of his season just the other day as well with a completely muddy car. I'm pretty sure he was pumped and proud about that thing in victory lane. It was awesome hearing him talk about that in the interview.
Certainly one of the more unique victory lane interviews we have had, but he's showing up well today. Has about 2.5 seconds to catch up to Greg Checky, but Greg's not his main concern. Justin Lewis is the other one in that AM class that he needs to watch out for. This is that 59 of Todd Rutura coming down through turn 4 currently, plunging into 5. What's his lap times looking like? We're still waiting on that first sector to update, and he sets a personal best, so he is on an improvement.
I think one of the coolest parts about Todd's win is that he had to earn it, right? He got out front and had a pretty substantial margin and then was getting caught pretty quickly towards the end of the race and was able to defend and claim that win. And, oh my goodness, up to the top is Dan Drowan with a 2:07.2, a significantly faster lap time than previous.
Greg Checky did not respond either. He's still about 3/10 behind. He starts another quick lap as we continue to follow the 59 down through the S's, and you can see these cars continuing to squirm. With only 6 of them out there, it's not a whole lot of them that are able to clear up the wetness.
And you know, I was hoping that it was going to maybe clear up a little bit more, but you're right. I think that you're spot on with the minimal cars running out there is really kind of the limiting factor in drying the track off. Oh, that was a big wiggle in the brake zone for Pelichowski down there at turn number 7.
We've seen that repeatedly, both on the drag strip and then that little kink off to the left. There have been so many of these cars, these Caymans, that have been twitching on their way into there. So it's been fun to watch, but I can't imagine it's too fun inside the car.
I think one of the coolest parts about watching these sessions is these Yokohama rain tires. Now, obviously, they provide tremendous amounts of grip in these conditions, but look at the amount of water it channels out from underneath the sides and sides of the cars. You can even see it coming out of the front fenders when they get up to speed.
And Bill set a personal best second sector. He sits 3rd in the Pro-Ams. Depends on what this last sector holds for him, if he can make that up in time, because he was, it looks like maybe about a second off on that first sector. So he definitely needs these last 2 to be good, and he slides it off turn 11 down towards the line. Let's see what this holds for him as he crosses the beam. And it was an improvement, but unfortunately, it does not take him up the order. He stays in 3rd.
And I think what's frustrating maybe for that number 62 car, only 0.08 of a second off of the front row was that lap time. So maybe it'll give him a little bit of incentive, say, okay, I can shave another 10th off and maybe go up there and share the front row with Drowan, or maybe even take away pole position.
Oh, and we have a yellow flag. At turn 10 we're hearing. Oh, and I see it. It's over in front of us. It is Dan Drowan. Oh, no. He is sitting on pole, but if you bring out a red flag, your fastest lap is going to be deleted, and the red flag is out. That is going to steal his pole away.
Oh, my goodness. What was going so well in the session just seemed to all disintegrate down there, and I will say, with the amount of rain that we have had, there are several sections on this racetrack that do have water coming across. And turn number 10, directly out of our commentary booth, basically where the corner workers are, where Herbeck is right now, there's definitely a large river that goes across. And I wouldn't expect if that kind of was a contributing factor.
Sometimes I find the messages we get from race control amusing, and this one was definitely one of the more comedic ones. It said yellow flag at turn 10-ish.
I saw that too.
But you can really, I mean, the visuals tell a story here, Joey, because it just, it goes completely off the track here and up into the tire barrier right to where about the car stops. So you can see exactly where he wound up just kind of slithering into the barrier.
You know, and if I was to take a little guess, it almost seems like he hit with the driver's side kind of smack in the tire wall there.
Like it, yeah.
So I know that on my side of things, I'm trying to find a replay, but I really do feel like it's probably just on throttle going over some heavy water on the racetrack and it losing it from underneath him.
Very much unfortunate. So we might be able to get a visual on what happened with a replay here shortly. But with that red flag coming out with only about 3 minutes left, that effectively ends the session for our Caymans. We'll go over those results in a little bit here. Interestingly, Rutura had pulled off before that red flag came out, and I wondered if that was a wise move, and, well, turned out to be okay in the end for him. As we bring the last of the cars, I think Greg Check is the only one we're waiting on. Actually, yeah, we've got it on board with him right here, and he is pulling down into pit lane, so that's the last of them to return back to his crew, and we are officially now on checkered flag. So while Dan Drowan shows at the top, by the rules, he should lose that pole position, which will promote Greg Checky up to first, should promote Pelichowski up to third. Here we've got the incident on board with Dan. That's out of the chicane. Now, where is that river, Joey?
It's going to be coming up right about left here. And it was, I mean, geez. Goodness, I mean, pretty much spot on with exactly where it was. And very, very gentle into the right side tire. So actually, that's just fine. Hopefully, the car should be just okay.
Yeah, and you know what? I wonder if it's so muddy out there, because you could see the car move a little bit, but then it stopped moving. I suspect he just got it stuck.
Yeah. Very, very unfortunate to have that red flag come out because of it, because, like you said, stuck out there, and that's pretty much going to take away his lap times.
If he had gotten it going, he maybe could still be on the top spot, and now we can confirm Checky has been moved to the front because his loss of 2 fastest laps even actually have been taken away for that red flag. Bill Pelichowski will be scored in second as Todd Rutura, third overall pole for our Cayman AMs. Then it is Drowan, who's actually moved to fourth, so he got enough laps in that he's not going completely to the back. Greg Herback was fifth, and then Justin Lewis was P6. I think we might be going for a short break before our Cup cars. We'll be back with the GT3 Cup qualifying here in the Porsche Endurance Challenge North America. Welcome back to Sonoma Raceway. We're getting ready for the Porsche Endurance Challenge North America GT3 Cup qualifying. We've already had the Caymans out there, and mercifully it has not rained during this session because it's been raining all morning, but it also has not dried up. And we'll have a lot more cars out on the track during this session than we saw in the Caymans, Joey. So drivers will have to try and find a little bit of space.
They will have to find a little bit of space out there, and like you had mentioned, it's been a very, very wet weekend up here in Northern California, and it's been wet every single day. So I think the one kind of benefiting thing is that this is not new conditions for the drivers. However, it is a new morning, and it is the Endurance Challenge, not the Sprint Challenge anymore, so they do have to go out there, find their footing, and qualify these cars.
Now, if you see those two different colors on our timing tower, the green is your Pro-Ams, the yellow are your AMs. And with this being an endurance race, you have two drivers, but in this qualifying session, it is the driver who sets the fastest time who must start the race. Now, for the Pro-Ams, that is going to be obvious. They tend towards the AM qualifying because they want the Pro to wrap up the race. For the AM category, they could potentially swap a driver out, and we did see that at Sebring, Joey.
And I am understanding that the 231 car, that's the Museals, have a stop-and-go penalty already. I'm not quite sure what that is for there, Joe. Definitely just kind of an early setback, but I think it's better to have it right now than it is to have it 5 minutes into the session.
Yeah, we've got 15 minutes for this session, so he's got time to get in and out without a doubt. And Museal 2.0, as he likes to be called, he's going to be sharing that car with Peter Ludwig. So David, and we've got Chris Hutter, I think, in the 281. Facing the wrong way. I'm trying to figure out where that is. I think out of turn 7? Yeah.
Yes, that is out because there's the drag strip right next to him there. So that must, and the way that the car was facing in terms of the attitude, it looks like a hook spin to the right once they got on the throttle. So, I mean, it's the outlap, right? All these cars still have the cold Yokohama rain tires. They just need to get a little bit of heat into them, and all of a sudden they are going to be working amazing in these conditions.
Exactly. They haven't had a chance to really explore out there. Musil is, as you can see on the screen, serving his drive-through. Coming, you said it was a stop plus 30. No, stop and go. So, yes, he is in and out and on his way, so hopefully shouldn't be too bad of an interruption for him. But we get our first drivers on their flying laps now. As 11 of these cars, looks like actually 10 of these cars, I think, are out on the circuit currently. DeJesus and McGovern not showing on the track. Meanwhile, Brandon Hankins in the 295 doing a little bit of overtaking up into turn 2, and other drivers trying to get out of the way as they allow him past.
I feel that was the Museal car that just served the stop-and-go penalty that Brandon Hankins was overtaking there in turn number 2. Now, this has also been a very, very busy driver this weekend, competing in the USA West Series, also competing in the Sprint Challenge GT3 Cup Series, both races there this weekend. Call it, 4 races actually for Brandon Hankins so far. And now this is the 5th with the Endurance Challenge, so he is very, very familiar with the varying track conditions.
Not only 4 races, but 2 of them wins in the USA West Series. So, yeah, Brandon needs to try and continue his form a little bit as we wait for those first times in. It looks like Blake McGovern, though, is our quickest in the first 2 sectors so far. Of course, he's the only one that set that second sector. We're still waiting for everybody else to come through. But as far as that first sector goes, he's been setting down the markers. We're on board now with McGovern coming around the final turn, the 240, just with a little bit of counter steer onto the main straight.
Let's see what lap time this comes up and registers as, a 2:05.88. I actually think that is a pretty smoking lap time, given that this is the first lap time on the board. In these similar conditions, I think we saw cars get down into the low 2s, right? But it took a little while. It took a handful of minutes before everybody really found their rhythm out there.
Waiting to see what everybody else does. Seeing naturally a lot of personal bests with this being the first flying lap, but nobody has been able to match McGovern with those purple sector times. In fact, he was 2 seconds in one sector alone there ahead of Child in the 202. But Charles Espenlaub for the AMs now goes to the top in that class. Sean McKay goes to third overall just behind him. You're right, that 205 is miles ahead of everybody else in terms of lap time.
And I mean, in similar conditions yesterday, I think the fastest we ever saw was maybe a high 158. And there were some different cars and different drivers out there, but Blake McGovern has consistently been up towards the front, at least inside the top 3 on the timesheets with these GT3 Cup cars.
I tell you what, Chris Hutter didn't let that spin slow him down. He moves himself into third in the Pro-Ams. So I love to see when a driver is unfazed by something going awry out there, especially something where he could have easily hit that wall. So clearly not afraid of these wet conditions.
Watching McGovern here going down into turn number 9. Seems to stay off of that first curb, maybe a little bit deep. I'm seeing that he's staying off of all of the painted surfaces down there, especially in these slow mechanical grip areas, just trying to be able to roll the speed and get on the throttle as soon as he possibly can. And this is Charles Espenlaub here in the HM Road Racing machine.
We have a yellow flag for turn 4 we're seeing. And don't have visual on it yet. Race control reporting that someone has had an issue over there. But we take a look over at the S's in the meantime. And car 260 I'm reading, and that is Roberto Tutino. Now he is seemingly just gone deep and then returned to the track. You could see the cones on the outside of turn 4 that he had to make his way back through.
That's a good call there. And I think crucially, although it is qualifying and, you know, this lap is kind of a throwaway anyways, and I think it was smart if you overshoot turn number 4 just to simply go straight, right? Don't try to force the car into the corner. There's tons of racetrack out there to be able to turn around and continue on with your lap.
Now, Tutino shared that car, and shares it at this race as well, with Daniel Morad, and they won over at Sebring, the overall. So they're going to want to try and get good positioning. That said, if they don't start up front, as looks like Blake McGovern set another fastest lap, 2:03.9, and continues to stretch away from everybody. But one of the things that Morad did well was race through the field to take that victory.
He did a fantastic job, you're right there, back at Sebring to go up there and claim that win at the end of the race. And, I mean, he had a monumental gap to go ahead and make up, and that's exactly what he did. And then he went up and made the pass. So I think as terms of favorites, I think that Tutino Morad car is definitely going to be one to watch come race time.
Looks like Ludwig has hopped back into that 231. So David Musial Jr. has at some point pitted and gotten out of the car. That, or we just had an update on our driver that is participating. So he's gone up to second. Brandon Hankins also has jumped up to third.
And that lap from Brandon Hankins, pretty significant at 205.2 and Ludwig's 204.7. I think we're going to get a quick replay of what happened to the 260 car. So this is coming out of turn number 2. We've still got to go through turn 3 and 3A here. Little bit of a river there. Car seems just fine. Up over the crest. Ooh. A little bit of a loose moment there, but was able to catch it. And doesn't lose the car. It's got to be in the brake zone right here, and he just goes straight. Yeah, he tries to get the car turned in, realizes he wasn't going to make the corner, and that's the right thing to do right there, is to basically abort out of the corner rather than drive through the mud.
Yeah, very smart on that one. And we watch the 251 now down through the chicane as we wait to see what kind of time he can put in. That is Dusek. And Matt is on the pole, actually. We had not caught that Espenlaub had been topped on the Pro-Am. So this bright orange machine, he's on a personal best second sector. Well, he's going to have to improve because Espenlaub just took that AM pole position back.
Yeah, 207.5 out of Charles there. Brandon Hankins also just threw down a great lap at 203.3. The only problem is that Blake McGovern continues to go faster. He went purple last time with another fast lap at 202.6. Purple in sector 1 as well for that number 240 as we watch Dusek climb the hill here at turn number 2.
It's continuing to change around up at the top there. The 251 through that little river. And man, you could see the splash as, Ludwig now. He cuts it down to a 2:02.605. We are 200ths apart for the pole.
The only problem, though, is that McGovern's going even faster. He was 0.4 faster than Ludwig in sector number 1, and he was 2.5 faster than Ludwig in sector number 2. That is purple. We'll have to see what Blake puts down.
We're already down to 5 minutes left. There is precious little time to try and improve from here, and McGovern looks like he is about to smash this one. We wait for him to cross the line. Just got Tutino back across, but don't think... No, he did improve his lap time. And now, Blake McGovern, he's a full second faster than Peter Ludwig.
And with these conditions, right, it's not like it's raining a ton out there right now. We do have enough cars, or at least grouped together, that it's not drying out the racetrack. However, there is a line on the racetrack. And so I have a feeling that the more comfortable these drivers get with that line, they're going to continue to push the limits and continue to drop the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't noticed that this session had gone back to a little bit of precipitation coming down. The first time that we've had that since qualifying started with the Caymans. Anybody making some inroads this time around? Ludwig does not have a purple first sector. McGovern does, though. He keeps going from strength to strength.
Oh, my goodness. And look at how busy it is right here with Dusek and company going down into turn number 11. I mean, this is a three-pack of cars, and everybody qualifies a little bit differently, right? Some people like to drive around with others that are similar pace out there. However, if I was in the car in qualifying, I want a completely clean racetrack, because what if one of these cars makes a mistake and then affects your lap negatively?
And my goodness, Charles Espenlaub has been doing an incredible job out there. He continues to put himself farther away from Dusek. His pole is now down to a 2:05.4. That is about a second and a half beyond Dusek at this stage.
I don't think that Blake McGovern knows any other color than purple on timing and scoring. Purple the last few laps together, right? Sector number 1 this lap, purple. Sector number 2 this lap, purple. I mean, who can go out there and challenge the 240? It seems like Peter Ludwig has the speed, but immediately McGovern has the answer.
Nobody's been getting anywhere close to that 240. He's just got all the sectors locked down, and we're down to 2.5 minutes left in this qualifying session. They are able to complete hot laps, so as long as you get to the line before it hits 0, you can do another one. It is now down to 2:08 for McGovern. Can he break under the 2-minute mark?
That's a 1.7 second lead, or gap that I should say, that he's got over the next fastest car. I can report that Roberto Tutino also improved. He is now up to 5th place in that class with a 2:05.5.
Ludwig does set a personal best first sector, but compare that to McGovern's last first sector. He's 0.4 of a second off, and that's in a single sector.
Pretty impressive. And I think that this is representative of his performance that we've seen throughout the weekend. He has always been on the faster side of things in these mixed weather conditions. So he's obviously comfortable with it. He knows what these conditions are like from the previous couple days, and he is applying all that knowledge that he's learned.
He's coming up upon Tutino, who's hopefully going to be able to get out of the way if he is on another flyer. Doesn't look like he is, actually. See that he didn't set any improvement in Sector 1. So maybe backing off because he knows he's got time to get around to the line for one more go here. Does he maybe back off, or does he try and actually overtake Tutino to get himself clear air?
I think if you're McGovern, you have to be 10/10 right now. You cannot let another car get in the way. He's going to climb up on the back of Tutino right now and try to get a pass done. And you know what? He's still there going down towards turn number 9. I can report that Chris Hutter also just improved his lap time, jumped up a few positions with a 2:04.1.
Yeah, that will jump him into 4th place. And Ludwig, with his latest lap, goes quicker. He gets it down to a 2:02.4. That's still a second and a half beyond Blake McGovern. And McGovern does look like he is backed off here.
He has backed off, and I think the crucial part, though, is that the team needs to be on the radio because we are under 30 seconds remaining, and it does take a little bit of time to get to the start-finish line. As long as he hustles through turn number 11 here, he should be able to reach start-finish to be able to start another lap before it goes checker.
I tell you what, Tutino was on a flyer himself, so it's a good thing that Blake backed off instead and didn't try to interrupt him, because Roberto jumps up to 4th, now down to a 2:04.117.
And crucially, Blake McGovern crossed the line with about 10 seconds remaining. I'm curious to see if he goes purple, purple, purple again. He has a 1.5 second gap on everybody, but does he let up?
But our first to get to the line is going to be Brandon Hankins, and he set a purple second sector, so he's starting to pick it up. He was personal best in the first sector. Has he figured out the secret that McGovern has unlocked in this track? What's it going to be as he gets ready to come to the line shortly? He's just out of the final corner. We watch the flag stand here with our camera shot, waiting for him to come through, and this is going to be critical. This last one, he goes to the pole.
2-minute .77 from Brandon Hankins, pulling a card out of the pocket right now. What a lap. Charles Espenlaub crosses the line in currently first place in his class with a 2:03.5, fourth overall. But what a lap from the 295.
And the 251 of Dusek is trying to respond. He does improve, but he only goes up to seventh overall. He stays second in the AMs. Watch out for Blake McGovern. That first sector, 0.8 of a second faster than Hankins' best lap.
Not only that, but I see Roberto Titino just went personal best, fastest in sector number 2. Also, Child out there on a fast one as well. There are several cars setting personal green sector laps. And like you said, Blake McGovern, purple sector 1, personal best sector number 2.
But he was 0.2 of a second slower than Hankins in that second sector. That's still enough to keep him ahead of Hankins. If he can just match on this final sector, this is going to be critical. He's coming towards the line here shortly as we watch Dan Ammon just cross. Here comes Tutino. He stays put. And McGovern takes it back. He is ahead by 0.6 of a second. He will steal it away from Hankins, but they went blow for blow on this one. So McGovern, unofficially, is your pole sitter for this race. Hankins starts to his outside. Child with a great qualifying. We didn't really cover enough of him. He puts into the third. It'll be Ludwig starting fourth. Espenlaub, good enough for fifth overall, but our pole for the AMs. Tutino, 6th overall with Hutter in 7th, Dusek in 8th, McCaig 9th, and Dan Ammon in 10th. Make sure and tune in later this afternoon. We will be back with round 2 of the Porsche Endurance Challenge North America Series, and that will start at 1:15 p.m.